welcome to Art Alive. This week we explore portraits through two fine exhibitions: Expressive Portraitures, here at the Atrium Gallery, a selection of photographs of diverse actors by Rory Lewis, and Bodhisattva exhibition, a collection of ink-painted holy characters. Simon Adam York, the artist, gave me more details about the message behind these portraits.
The Bodhisattva exhibition is about bodhisattvas, which are living saints of compassion. So these are people in Buddhist theology who've reached a certain level of enlightenment, but instead of going on to nirvana, they've vowed to keep being reborn into this world until they've made every other sentient being enlightened. So it's like sort of a selfless act that they've done to be reborn into suffering, so they can help every single person get in front of them, and they will be the last person to actually reach nirvana in the end. So that's what these people are. So they're just people of deep compassion who are there to help other people and guide them along the way.
So who do we have in this exhibition? I mean, it's portraits, but who is represented?
In this exhibition here we have, there's Mother Teresa, there's Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who's a high Buddhist Lama, there's John Paul II, Pope Benedict, and there's a few Hindu sadhus, which are Hindu holy men that you see.
So all these people, they're here to represent peace, like you were saying. This is, yeah.
Yeah, it's to try and help make a dialogue and people to think of these people as compassionate people and stuff, and then so people can go away and try and think about it and try and deepen their compassion for things.
And why is this compassion theme so important? Why did you want to work for that on that theme in particular?
Well, it's really important for me because I've been a devout Buddhist for 20 years. So everything that I do is through a Buddhist side, so through a Buddhist perspective. And a few years ago I was going to become a monk in the Himalayas. And I had to come home for operations on my spine. But I'd taken my Bodhisattva vows. So everything that I do for the rest of my life is dedicated to the development of compassion for other people.
Brilliant. How long did you spend there?
I was there for 5 months. Yeah, 5 months, but I will be going back probably in a year's time for about another six months to a year. But before I actually went there, it was sort of on the same theme that the paintings which I've been doing for the past 10 years are 5-foot paintings on homeless people, which are big 5-foot by 3-foot black and white paintings of homeless people again, because based on Buddhism and developing compassion, because bodhisattvas and Buddhas can be in disguise. And quite often in Buddhist stories and stuff, a Buddha goes in disguise as a homeless person to try and test somebody else's compassion, and so other people can show them. So in Tibet, people can't knock anybody away at the door. So they've always got to let them in and give them food and stuff, because it could be a Buddha in disguise, which I think is a nice way to think. So I have these paintings which go all around the country to try and raise awareness for homelessness. Again, because they might be Buddhas in disguise. So this exhibition here is also the flip side of the same type of theme. It started off in Sunderland, up in the northeast, with a guy called Barry West, who created the whole exhibition theme, because I was exhibiting up there at Sunderland Minster with the homeless paintings, and we discussed it, and it's an artist for peace, because he was on watching television, he was looking at Syria and all the awful things that are happening, and it got him really quite mad, and he thought, well, how can I try and help her, how can I do anything? He's a complete atheist, but the only way that he can sort of talk and create a dialogue as an artist is through visual representation. That's the way that artists talk, and that's how they express themselves. So he set it up, and I helped him build it up in that. So it's Artists for Peace. So it's starting in Sunderland and all over the northeast here, but then it's going to go on tour in different places. And we've got artists from Canada, Japan, there's some from Italy. It's gone quite large, and hopefully it's going to be carrying on. All we are saying is the project. Obviously, it's taken all we are saying from John Lennon and give peace a chance to the song and stuff. But the exhibition, it says it's supposed to be non-religious and non-political and stuff like that, because an awful lot of people use these type of things as a sounding board for their own agenda, where there's no agenda. It's just about showing people about peace. I mean, peace is the simplest thing in the world. Showing compassion is the most simple thing in the world. No point trying to confuse it. And when people start talking about politics and things like this, people can get really passionate and angry about these things, and they can start being offensive and things, and that's what we didn't want with this exhibition. So even though my portraits are of holy people, they're all of different religions, and that's it's not saying that one religion is better than the other, because in Buddhism it doesn't matter. The Dalai Lama tells you to read every religion, and if one of those is better for you, just go with it and leave Buddhism. As long as you build compassion for other people, it doesn't matter.
And yourself, how did you come to Buddhism?
I was working as a doorman on nightclubs, and I was seeing the worst in people. It was drunk people fighting all the time. I was fighting, and I started talking to people. Quite horrible, because you see them in the worst light. You always see them when they're giving you abuse and they're shouting at you and stuff. So I needed something to try and make me human again, in a way. So Buddhism was a great thing. I realised that Buddhism's about getting rid of the ego. So when people are being abusive and shouting things, they weren't having a go at me. It would only hurt if I let my ego hurt it. People were just venting because they were angry at something else that happened, and you're just there at the time to actually take the brunt of the abuse and stuff. So it helped in that respect, and it took a long time for me to become so devout as a Buddhist. It wasn't like one day I decided that I was going to become a vegan and not touch anything. It took about 10 years of me still having a drink and still having relationships and stuff like that before I started getting really serious with Buddhism and stuff. But everything that I do now is sort of related to that. My days, I take refuge 6 times a day. I meditate twice a day. And a couple of PhDs, which I'm writing at the moment, through a Buddhist perspective, because we talk about the nature of reality and the way that people see things and the perception of things, and how it can control people and stuff. So yeah, that's everything that I do is that way.
Let's come back a bit on the actual paintings, and what's the technique behind it?
I mean, I put traditional ink painting because I started making my own quills. I'd never done any type of ink painting, and I'd spent a couple £100 on some inks, and they were just in a drawer somewhere. So you always have to try and test yourself and try new techniques and things, because otherwise you don't grow as an artist, do you? So you always got to challenge yourself. So I started these ink paintings, normally with washes of thin ink to build the blaze, but then I make my own quills. I bought some pen nibs, some antique pen nibs from the French Pyrenees, which I find seagull feathers when I'm walking along the beach from where I live. So then I make them up and I glue them and strap them and everything. So it's a combination of layers of washes of paint using brushes, and then dipping ink in and then drawing in, which is the same type of technique that Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci did in the Renaissance and things. So in that sense, it's a traditional form of ink painting. Well, the ideal is to develop compassion, and the ideal is to see these people and say, people think of Bodhisattvas as living saints of compassion, so there's some type of God type figure and stuff, and like the Buddha is this sort of type God. He wasn't. He was a normal man. He was a normal human being, and the Dalai Lama says that he's just a simple monk. So you shouldn't revere them as these superhuman type people. It's more important, I think, and it's more impressive than just thinking that they're just a normal human being who's developed this much compassion and devoted their lives, like Mother Teresa devoted lives in Calcutta and stuff, trying to help people and things. That these people just dedicate everything that they have to helping other people and showing love for other people. So the exhibitions showing the portraits and stuff is to show that they're just normal people, and an achievable thing. But if you put them on a pedestal, then it's an awful lot harder for people to think that they can actually do something or to get to a certain point. Where it's not, that it's just a small thing that people develop things and develop compassion and stuff. So just doing these little things and maybe seeing the paintings and thinking about the paintings will sort of trigger something that could help you be more compassionate to one person once, and then it's like a snowball effect. Hopefully, that develops with people.
Do you think it's something we're missing in this world of craziness and war? That's what we see on TV all the time, bad things happening.
It is. There's an awful lot of the world is ego-driven, I think, especially with their social media and stuff, that people think that other people are really interested in their lives. And so it develops their ego and stuff. And what makes wars and things? It's a desire of wanting other people's stuff. So we live in a desire realm. It's the ego that can never be satiated. That the ego always wants to be loved itself. It always wants to be cherished and have attention off other people. It's the ego that tells you that you won't be happy if you don't have this really big 48-inch TV. So you create your own suffering. I think, oh, that's going to make me happy, when these things don't make you happy. Don't look for external things to make you happy, because it's only short-lived, it only lasts for a certain amount of time. You can only get happiness from inside, and that can last forever.
The 6 portraits are on display in the cafe of the Quaker Meeting House for another 7 weeks. After the break on Art Alive, we'll meet Rory Lewis for the exhibition Expressive Portraiture. Welcome back to Art Alive. This week we're focusing on portraits. The Atrium Gallery on Victoria Street displays Expressive Portraiture, a collection of photographic portraits of British and American actors.
It's an exhibition of thespians, of actors, which I've basically captured over the past 2 years. Expressive features many people you may know, like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, David Warner, many famous British actors, but also I've travelled across the United States to Los Angeles and New York, and I've had many sittings with actors there as well, and it's been quite a wonderful experience.
How do you select these actors? How do you choose them?
Okay, basically I'm a bit of a science fiction nerd, as many people may have read. I do like science fiction. It's something that inspired me to go into photography, watching film noir movies from the 1920s, the beginnings of science fiction and the beginnings of horror. And often I seem to admire the bad guys in the films. I like basically the evil characters because they have the most interesting background. And in terms of thespians, I wanted to go for those thespians many who have played the evil bad characters, and also some of my own personal heroes like Patrick Stewart, of course, and Ian McKellen, and also William Shatner. So it's been something of a self-indulgent exhibition, to be honest.
And that's the thing, when I'm looking at the portraits, they don't look like bad guys, that you're showing a different feeling.
Yeah, the Expressive is all about kind of character actors acting on camera. What I'm trying to do is, in my portraits, I like to suck the emotions out of the actors, suck them, basically present them in a very plain way. If I can present them plainly, then people will look at the pictures and then they'll try and ascertain, what are they trying to say, what are they trying to think about? And it's something that I like to do. It's my style, trying to remove the emotion. But then portraiture is a three-way sword. Basically, it's a three-edged game. It's between the photographer, the vanity of the sitter, and the way the public feel about the actual image itself. So there's three areas involved. So for me as the photographer, I have my idea of how I want to present the person or the sitter, and they have their own idea of how they want to be presented. And then there's the public's opinion of the way pictures are presented. So as a portrait photographer, it is a three-edged sword, effectively. Many of the sitters were quite happy just for me to direct them. The most famous sitting that I've actually had in my career so far was with the actor David Warner. Now, he's a very famous actor from Tron, The Omen. He's done many horror films and many interesting productions. I photographed David back in 2012. So literally, I arranged this sitting with him, and it took quite a while to actually convince him, to coax him into actually sitting for the exhibition. In the end, he agreed, And he arrived at the studio. It was very nerve-wracking sitting because David hates getting his picture taken. It's something that he abhors. He can't stand it. And he announced to me that the last person to photograph him was Cecil Beaton back in 1967. So 36, 37 years later, it's the day of my sitting, so I was very nervous. And he said, "What do you want from me, Rory? What do you want?" And I said, "Well, David, I would like something plain, something fierce. I want to show the characters that you've played, all the angry horror characters that you've played in the past." He's been in many interesting films. And David went away, and he sat like this for 15 minutes, like this, with his hand on his face, like this. And he came back and he said, "Don't direct me." He said, "Don't direct me." Because as a photographer, I'm used to directing people. That's something that I want to direct them to achieve. But after explaining what I wanted to achieve, he just stood up, put his face into the camera, and he just gave me the expression within one shot. One shot. And the shot is now in the National Portrait Gallery in London. So it was quite. So I've got it on display here in Liverpool, just for the exhibition, and hopefully people will enjoy it. Hand, basically, I like the use of hands. It's something I've explored. As you may notice, it's only an exhibition of male thespians. There aren't many female, or there are no female thespians in this exhibition. Nothing against ladies. I've got 3 older sisters. I'm married. It's just that in this exhibition, I wanted to explore the male face. The way age is portrayed in the male face. So with the use of hands, you can really see someone's age. You can see their age in their hands, in their neck, and in their skin. And I don't airbrush, so that may horrify people, but I don't actually do any airbrushing. I don't agree with airbrushing. I find it's a commercial thing. A lot of actors and people, they want to be airbrushed, and it doesn't say how they look in reality. Effectively, my degree is actually in history. So as a historian, I admire the fact that a photograph is a source. It's something people are going to look back at, and they're going to want to look back at what people actually look like, not what they want, how they want to be presented. And many of the old portrait photographers, like Cecil Beaton, Joseph Karsh, they use very light correction on their images. So what you're seeing is the actual person.
Same with you? Do you use some digital?
There is some digital enhancement. I'm not going to lie to you. There is digital enhancement in all pictures, but my enhancement brings out the detail. It doesn't remove the detail.
Right. And they're all in colours. You were mentioning earlier that.
Yeah, I'm a colourist. I know a lot of the famous photographers are black and white photographers, but for myself, I enjoy colour. Colour is my style. I like to present all the detailing in colour. I know black and white is beautiful. I've shot black and white in the past. People do request it, but for me, I'm a colourist. Colour is what I enjoy.
And so this is portrait. I've seen that you've done Northerners as well. These were portraits as well. Is it something that you focused on?
Northerners was a previous exhibition held 2 years ago, 2 years ago here in Liverpool, and I also went to London, travelled the country effectively. But Northerners was something I wanted to kind of get away from. Once it was done, it was quite a successful exhibition, and I had many famous northern people, northern politicians, actors, sports people like Beth Tweddle and famous actors, and it was quite a successful experience for me. Moving on from Northerners, I wanted to get away from it as quickly as possible, because people were saying to me, "What Northern are you going to photograph next? Which Northern are you going to do?" So it kind of constrained me just to being in the north. Effectively, I'm not. I love Liverpool. I'm from Liverpool, but I work all over the world, so I want to try and remove myself from it. So moving on to this project really kind of helped actors expressing themselves. My favourite, I suppose, is the Andrew Robinson shot. He's the ultimate bad guy. You might not know who he is, okay? Andrew Robinson, I'm a bit of a nerd, so bear with me. But Andrew Robinson, he played the Scorpio killer in Dirty Harry. So if you remember Dirty Harry from the 1970s, he actually played the sniper killer, and he portrayed the first psychopathic killer. So the actual portrait I've taken of him really kind of shows the character, which is something I wanted to bring out. It's one of my favourites. No, the exhibition has been sponsored. Basically, I have 3 sponsors which have been really wonderful in backing the project. What I find is it's difficult to shoot a project. It can be quite costly and expensive for a photographer to do. With Northerners, I found I had to do many of the shots on my own back. I took the money I made from commercial shoots and I invested it in my own portfolio. In terms of this exhibition, I've had 3 wonderful sponsors. Calumet Photographic, who have graciously provided me with space in London where many of the shoots took place, and they're a wonderful photography company. Also, a paper company called Hanne Müller. They're a German company. That was a bit of a mouthful, but they've been supplying papers since the 16th century. So they're a well-established company, and their paper Photo Rag, which many of this is printed on, is a wonderful paper for archival printing. And one more sponsor, Mamiya, the camera company. They provided me with a lens to shoot many of the portraits as well. And as I say, I use medium format cameras to capture these pictures made by Mamiya, because they capture all the detail wonderfully, the colour, and they're beautiful cameras.
What are your future projects?
At the moment, I work a lot with the Times in London, and I also teach a great deal. And in terms of, I'm working on a project with politicians at the moment, which is not going to be very popular for people, but I'm working with, it's called Portraitist. As a historian, as a lover of history, a lot of the famous portraitists worked with politicians, so I want to explore the medium of politics, the medium of power. So I'm trying to depict power in portraiture, so it's something I'm working on at the moment. So I'm working with military figures as well as political figures from all over the world, and it's been quite an interesting project. And another project I'm working on at the moment is with ambassadors. I'm photographing foreign representatives from all over the world. So it's something I want to try and portray. It's inspired by the Holbein portrait of the ambassadors. You may have seen it. It's in the National Portrait Gallery. Everyone should go. It's a fantastic place.
That's all this week on Art Alive. See you next time.